Big Value, Big Business Podcast, episode 26.
Welcome to the Big Value, Big Business Podcast with James Lynch, where we talk with today's most successful marketing minds about getting the right message in front of the right people and getting the right people to become your customers for life. And now, your host, James Lynch.
All right, welcome back, my friends, to yet another edition of the Big Value, Big Business Podcast. I am your host, James Lynch. I am really big time, super excited about my very special guest today. Her name is Alexandra Skey. Alexandra is the co-founder of Spokal. That's Spokal. Spokal is an inbound marketing automation platform designed to help small businesses to create and distribute their content to attract and nurture inbound prospects as well. You'll find all of this happening at www.getspokal.com. It is my pleasure to welcome Alexandra to the Big Value, Big Business Podcast today. Hello, Alexandra. How are you doing today?
I'm fabulous, James. How are you doing?
I'm great. This chat was a long time in the making. We were both pretty busy and we've been missing each other. I'm glad you were able to come on and we can shoot the breeze, so to speak.
I'm super excited to be here, James. We were sort of joking that we were becoming really good pen pals in the digital age, so it's nice to be able to connect.
We definitely were, and I should be so lucky to have as elegant and eloquent a pen pal as you, so I appreciate it. And here we are. So listen, I want to thank you for taking the time, and I'm really excited for you to share, with our listeners everything you can in the time allowed, about how we can grow our business using inbound marketing to attract, convert, and keep both new subscribers and customers for life. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds like a fabulous plan.
Awesome. So I'd like to start in the beginning just to kind of get a little background about you. So can we maybe get a little history, get to know Alexandra Skey and a little bit about where she came from and about the journey that has brought you here to where you are today?
Absolutely. So I'm Canadian and I was born and raised here, and I'm really an entrepreneur and a marketer. So Spokal is my fourth venture. And Spokal Spokal is the startup that I'm co-founding right now. And Spokal really hits home for me. It combines a lot of what I love to do, and what I've done in the past, which is small business and marketing, but it does it on a scale that can actually really empower businesses around the world to use some of these tools that I've been able to use in my past roles, but dialed down for much smaller companies. So that's what Get Spokal is. I guess a little bit more about myself. Yeah, North American entrepreneur. And in my personal life, I love riding horses. And recently, I love kiteboarding. And as a little aside, we actually took Spokal remote. We took our whole team remote and moved to the Caribbean for 4 months last summer and worked in our company down there and learned to kitesurf. And through inbound marketing, we were able to grow our business significantly while having a good time under the Caribbean sun. So it is a really cool thing when you finally dial up your inbound channels, what you're able to do with them.
Working from the Caribbean for 4 months.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that. I can imagine your winters are pretty harsh up there, so that must have been quite a change.
Well, exactly. I mean, us Canadians get a little chilly, so it's nice when we can finally see the sun for more than one day in a row.
Nice. That's nice. And that is something to aspire to, and maybe we'll get a little more into how you guys were able to scale everything up and get everything running on, I don't want to say on autopilot, but just as smoothly that you can make that transition and learn how to kiteboard at the same time. That's awesome.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that's great. I saw you're in love with horses. And what's an e-retail author? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited right now. I'm working on a book all about e-retail. And so that's why I decided I call myself an e-retail author.
I like it.
It's not specifically e-commerce. It really talks a lot about what happens when the barriers to buying and selling and creating online are gone for everyone. And what does that look like as we move towards this concept of a zero friction world? And ultimately, I think it leads to amazing customer experiences. And so this book was originally written to be an e-retail book. And in order to stay relevant and write an e-retail book, it's quite challenging. So we took a bit of a social, cultural, economical, kind of global approach to the book and really looked at, well, what's the concept of e-retail? And it's really about breaking down those barriers. And that's a very similar concept to what marketing automation does for small businesses. How do you break down these barriers and scale up so that you can have a small business marketing from the Caribbean, or you can have someone halfway around the world selling something they made and it's actually economically viable? And so that's really sort of, I guess, kind of deep down is part of my passion. And that's why I decided I guess that's what an e-retail author is.
Cool. And when is that book due to come out?
It's coming out in the fall. I think it'll be on the shelves October 1st. And it's called Zero Friction. So
I like that. I heard you mention that. I actually wrote that down creating a zero friction world.
Yeah.
So out in October, great. And I'll make sure to put that in the show notes because we're going to look for that. That's pretty interesting.
I'll send you a signed copy.
I would love that. I'll even give you a handy dandy review too.
Oh, that'd be fabulous. I'm super keen. I'll send you an early then.
Nice. All right. So from Canada, working from around the world, around the globe. Tell me, how long has Spokal been around? You've mentioned this was one of your fourth endeavors, entrepreneurial pursuits.
Yep.
How long has Spokal been in existence?
It's over 2 years now. We came together full time in Spokal April 2012. So that's me and my co-founder Chris. And Chris actually started tinkering with the idea about November 2007, sort of part-time, trying to see, does this concept make sense? Is it resonating? Can we actually do it technically? Spokal is quite technically robust just because we actually integrate with a ton of different providers. So he really wanted to see, could we even do it? Is it possible? And then we actually met at a co-working space out of Vancouver. And I really liked the idea. And he was thinking, okay, well, let's rev this up. So then we both went on it full time in April 2012.
Oh, congratulations. Then you had a 2-year anniversary not too long ago. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we had our first one, as I said, down south. And so this one is actually in the sort of sunny west coast of Canada. But
Cool. So it obviously hasn't been without a lot of hard work. So tell me just maybe one of your biggest challenges you had over the last 2 years, or even something maybe that you could refer. No, it's Chris Mack. That's the co-founder.
Yeah, he's our CEO and co-founder.
Cool. Maybe something that was like really in the way that you guys were able to overcome, just kind of like a lesson to learn, so we can maybe get perspective that, it's not just breezing in and cruising for 2 years. There's bound to be some bumps in the road. So tell me how you met them and overcame them.
I think I'm really glad you brought that up. We talk about it being really fun and it was great and working in the Caribbean. The honest answer, it was a lot of really, really hard work. And there are definitely some dark days. And I think we had two kind of key challenges. The first was convincing anyone who wasn't a small business that Spokal was a good idea. So when we first started out, we were thinking that we would go your typical startup route. So we'd create a little bit of a product, build some demand, and fundraise. And every investor we talked to thought we were crazy because the small business market is notoriously difficult to reach and they're notoriously expensive to do it. And we were trying to explain, through the concept of InBound, we're not actually going out and campaigning. People are Googling, how do I grow my business online? And they'll find Spokal and they'll go through our InBound funnel and they'll convert. And we were explaining this and we had very few people that were kind of willing to jump on board with us. And so sort of by default, we realized, okay, well, we need to bootstrap this to show we can actually do what we say we can do. And it was a really interesting lesson early on because it actually forced us to really turn Spokal into a business right away. and get a product out there and see what customers thought. And the first version of Spokal, I think the churn rate was about 80 to 90%. And so
that's cool. Got to start somewhere.
Well, it was pretty horrendous. I mean, it was just awful. We had designed the solution completely backwards. And so we spent the next 6 months designing something that kind of worked. And it took about a year after that, actually, to really build something and put it in the market that people found value with and that actually significantly helped their businesses. And, to the point now where we've created an agency plan so that agencies can use Spokal with their small businesses. So that's kind of cool. But I think the biggest challenge, honestly, was just really having faith in what we were doing to overcome those obstacles. People wanted to, for example, there was a lot of people in our community that liked us and said, well, if you do another project, we'll support you, both with knowledge and with financial resources. And so you sort of have to say, well, are we doing this just for a project, or do we really believe in the power of small businesses and helping them succeed? And so it was really sort of a test of, what do we want to do as entrepreneurs? What do we want to spend our time on? And what do we have to do to keep food on the table? And so this is actually really interesting. And so the whole time I was working on Spokal, not the whole time, but I was actually working on this book. And so that was a really interesting arrangement. So I was moonlighting on the book to help pay our bills, so that in the early days, all of the money from customers we were getting from Spokal, and our investment was going into the technical development, because that was Spokal's real wheelhouse. And so it's been a really interesting journey. I mean, we're barely at the start line now, and we've definitely seen a transformation in the last, I'd say since about fall 2013, of starting to move in, a bit faster in the right direction. And that's been really exciting. Critical mass
gaining. That's cool. Yeah. So I knew we always want to talk about and remember the good stuff, but it's also good to remember like where we came from and some of the hard stuff. And it makes us appreciate, and my listeners definitely appreciate, because they're all hardworking consultants, authors, creators, small business owners. And yeah, it's working. It sounds like you're on the right track. I love the bootstrapping and just like doing whatever you need to do to move forward. That's awesome. Awesome. Can you MA software, marketing automation software, for our listeners, can you basically tell us, the nuts and bolts, maybe in a 35,000 foot view of what that means to maybe the small business? What is marketing automation software?
Absolutely, James. At its heart, marketing automation is anything that you do for marketing that you automate. And I know that sounds quite obvious, but the reason I share that is oftentimes small business owners are doing marketing automation or are incorporating parts of it without realizing it. So for example, if you're writing a blog and you use a plugin to automatically publish to your social feeds, that's marketing automation, right? And so the platform, a marketing automation platform, is something that really says, okay, instead of you doing all of those different things in different places, we're going to put it into one place. So now we're going to make it easier. We're going to automate your keyword research process. We're going to automate your writing process. We're going to cut down 2 minutes here and 5 minutes here of everything you do to create and share your content, so that over the span of time using a marketing automation platform, not only are you saving time, but more importantly, you're getting reach and effectiveness that you just would find impossible to do if you didn't use a marketing automation platform.
So tell me how that relates to, say, someone in my audience. A day in the life would be, say, a consultant or a creative, somebody that's going out there trying to get their message out there. So they're creating content, useful content. They're getting it out. They're pushing it out via maybe a Hootsuite or a Buffer or something like that, and hopefully driving folks into their inbound funnel, some kind of opt-in page or some kind of bringing them in back to their site, and then working through nurturing them and hopefully getting them to one, opt-in, and then two, eventually getting them to do business with them. So how would they plug into your system?
Is Spokal specifically?
Yeah.
Totally. So Spokal works actually right from the very beginning of the content creation process. So you use Spokal to do all your keyword research. And Spokal does everything from letting you know what you should write about now to what you should write about in 3 months based on your traffic and your reach.
Wow.
And then you blog right in Spokal. And we built a really nice drag and drop editor. So it's a super easy interface to use. And we have a ton of stuff in there that just makes the process faster. So for example, on the side, instead of describing, what you need to do to optimize your post, we just tell you what to do. So it's the difference in saying, oh, I need to have a heading in my title. We'll say, hey, you need to add hot chocolate into your title because you've told us that's your keyword and that's where that needs to be. So it takes the guessing work right out.
Wow.
Another thing we find is sourcing images can take time. So we integrate with Flickr Creative Commons. And so you can drag and drop up to 30 million images and they're properly attributed, which is a big deal for, again, businesses that don't have a lot of time or money to spend looking for photos. We actually built that after I made a very big mistake and used a photo that I legally thought we could use and we couldn't. And so we got, that was a really good learning experience for us. And we said, well, we can't be the only ones here. So let's build that in and save time and make sure that's there. And anyway, so you create the content, you share it right from Spokal. We automatically publish to your Twitter, your Facebook, wherever you want. And then what we've actually built in is a social sharing calendar so that every time you publish a blog post, you can say, share my post on Twitter 4 times and then share it once again on Twitter in the next week and a couple times the next month. And the reason we built that is that we often find people don't promote their content enough. And that's one of the biggest reasons they don't extend their reach. And again, instead of taking 10 minutes to manually scheduling your tweets, it's already done in Spokal. And so then it's super easy to share content as well because we link with Feedly. So you can basically curate and create your entire content strategy in Spokal. And of course, we also integrate with email marketing automation platforms and lead nurturing. So once you've published your content and shared it and you're growing your reach, you can pull your leads back into Spokal and track them and see how they're doing, see which ones are the most likely to convert. Spokal will tell you when they've reached a certain score, and then you can go after them. So it really tries to simplify that entire process.
Wow, what a great explanation. Thank you so much. I love that, all the pieces, the Creative Commons for images, the lead nurturing, lead scoring, and then, it's very, very intuitive. That's awesome program. Cool. Let's see. We talked a little bit earlier about being in and out of email. I'm just going to switch gears a little bit on productivity and accountability. And you got it together because you don't spend your day in email like I do, and that allows you to get a lot done. You're not constantly checking it or running back to it and then feel compelled to answer it, which takes you away from and distracts you from the task at hand or doing business. So tell me about that, and tell me about any other little personal tricks or tidbits that you do to keep you disciplined, faced in the right direction.
That's a good point. So the first 2 for email are I never check my email in the morning. And I read a book or an article that said that concept, and I loved it. And so now I do it for the first hour. So if I know I have meetings or something coming up and I know I need to check my email at a certain time, I'll make sure that I get an hour's worth of work done so I feel productive and proactive before I start my day. And that's the number one thing that I think I really like that. Number 2 is as well, I try to check in my inbox a couple times a day, and I always log out of it so that it's a more conscious thing. I would love Google to design something where you can compose your email without landing into your inbox interface. That would save us all a lot of time. And anyways, another couple of tips. This is it might be a bit hokey for your listeners. I'm not sure, but in the last 8 months, I actually started meditation. And so I do 10 minutes a day. And what it actually helps you do is kind of be mindful. I think that's the whole concept. And anyway, so when you're working away and you're typing and you think, oh, what's not happening on Facebook? Or, oh, that's a cool blog, I'm going to go there. It helps you be aware of, oh, interesting, that's not what I'm doing right now. So I just have a little notepad, I scribble, check Facebook or whatever. And then by the time I've done my task, I look at that notepad and think, that's not worth 10 minutes. But I absolutely would have spent 10 minutes on it if I wasn't mindful. So, I mean, I know what works for one person doesn't work for the next, which is why it's always interesting to hear productivity conversations. But for me, it's just that it's being mindful when I'm about to get into a spin, an internet spin where you read every blog online and you come out of the internet an hour later feeling so loaded with information and not necessarily loaded with actionable advice or something that's going to help you today.
Totally. And your meditation is becoming, by and large, the very popular among even some of the big gurus out there. These guys, I won't name names, but just some. I found one guy in particular. He's a monster. I mean, he curses, he swears, he's spiritual, but he's all over the place. But he meditates 20, 30 minutes a day, and he gets so much done. And it brings you, it keeps you centered. It keeps you, what was the term you used? On task or just mindful.
Mindful.
In the moment where you're not compelled to, ooh, what's going on over there? Ooh, what's going on over there? So yeah, awesome. And it's not too hokey at all. That's spot on, and I'm hearing it more and more. It's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So how about authors? I'd kind of like to see what folks like you out there are reading. Both for inspiration and to keep up with trends and industry knowledge. So what's on your bookshelf right now or in the top?
What's on the top? Well, I just finished, let me go, what is it called? It's from Biz Stone. I think it's called What a Little Birdie Told Me.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was one of the 4 founders of Twitter. And it's his recollection of what happened during that time. And it's really a little bit of history about himself. And it's written in a really fun, light tone. And so I like it because it was really easy to read. And it's very insightful to learn how other entrepreneurs build these crazy companies. And the one that I'm reading right now is actually Abundance by Peter Diamandis. And I can't remember the other author, so sorry.
No, it's cool. I'll look it up and I'll have it in the show notes.
Perfect. But it's a really cool concept of basically, instead of thinking about our world and our mind as being finite, it's infinite. And what does that look like? And how do you create a world of abundance? And BizStone actually had a very similar concept in terms of creativity. It's abundant. If you use it today, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to use it tomorrow. And so it's neat when you read the Abundance is a much more scientific read, but it's really neat when you read and you start to see parallels among some concepts. So I love to have a good book on my shelf. And I actually really like to have a hard paperback. So those are real books, they're not ebooks. And I find when I'm in front of the screen all day, it's actually really nice to turn it off and to turn paper over paper. And it's a really nice experience.
Agreed. I totally agree with you, especially outside. Just unplug, if you would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. Another trend that I see, and actually my last 2 podcasts ago, I kind of did tallied up who I had interviewed the last 25, and these are trends, books, and resources, meditation. Also, a lot of folks say they probably never would have made it if they didn't have a mastermind or they didn't network with some folks. So where are you with that? Do you have a mentor, or do you have a mastermind group, or somebody you check in with regularly?
I haven't found the mastermind groups to be useful personally. I know a lot of people get value out of them, so I haven't found that for me. I do have some really good mentors, and I mean they've evolved over the years depending on where I am and I guess where I'm in my life and who's around me to kind of help me. And yeah, I mean, invaluable doesn't even begin to cut it, And I think when we talk about what is a mentor, for me, it's someone that I can call at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. when everything is gone, hell in a handbasket, and it's who's going to sit there with you and go through that process. I mean, I think the concept that I see a little bit more, which scares me, is this is my mentor. I meet them once a month for lunch. I think that's great. But you don't need help once a month. You need 4 hours now, and then you don't need anything for 3 months.
In the trenches with you, when you need them.
Exactly. And I think when you're looking, at least the relationships that I've built for my advisors, you really need to look to someone that you can really build a real relationship with, and, full disclosure, full trust. And it takes time to find that person. And it's also okay to outgrow them, or to have a different advisor or mentor for a different phase in your business career. And I think that's also okay as well.
Sure. And there's no right or wrong answer. It was like, I think a mentor can replace easily a mastermind group, and vice versa. But a mastermind typically meets once a week, once a month. And yeah, you have those folks, and they're a network. But if you have a real tight mastermind group, each one of those people are a mentor in and of themselves, and you should be able to reach out to them at any point in time between meetings and pick up the phone at 2 a.m. and say, "I'm in the weeds, help me out." And I think that's a true mentor-mentee relationship.
Yep.
Cool. So tell us what you have going on as we wind it down. We've got the book coming out in October. What's coming down the pike?
Well, there's a few exciting things in the pipeline. Can't share a lot more than that right now, unfortunately. I hate when people do that. But Zero Friction's coming out, as we talked about. Spokal's moving along pretty nicely. And, it's still very young in the 2014 year.
Cool. And, tell us where we can check in with you periodically to see what's happening.
Totally. So my Twitter is probably the best way to do that. And I'm sure we can put that in the notes, but it's my name, Alexandra Skey. And that's the best way to reach out and to chat and to share and connect.
All right. And we will keep up with you. And the website is www.getspokal.com.
You got it, James.
Awesome. Hey, listen, I appreciate you coming out today. I'm glad we could finally get together, and been a wealth of knowledge, very inspiring. Anyone out there looking to get into marketing automation, sounds like the premier platform to be on. So we'll check in again. I'd love to have you back on when the book comes out, and maybe we can beat the bushes and get it, help you get it out there.
That sounds like a fabulous idea.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Alexandra.
Thank you, James.
Okay, you take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right. I hope you enjoyed our chat today with Ms. Alexandra Skey. Please visit Alexandra at www.getspokal.com. That's GETSPOKAL.com. You can find the show notes and the highlights of this interview at bigvaluebigbusiness.com/episode 26. Or just go to bigvaluebigbusiness.com and type Alexandra into the search box for easy access. Hey, and while you're on the site, I'd love it if you'd sign up and become part of the Big Value Big Business family. You'll receive updates and highlights of every new podcast episode that I publish, and so you can decide at that point in time if you want to download it and have a listen. Also, when you do sign up at bigvaluebigbusiness.com, you will receive a really cool free gift. I put together an awesome online toolbox that has a ton of free internet resources to help you build and grow your online business. So head on over to bigvaluebigbusiness.com and sign up and subscribe right there at the top of the site. Hey, and don't forget to check out the show on iTunes. If you listen with your iPod or your iPhone, it'd be awesome if you would subscribe to the show on iTunes. And while you're there, if you wouldn't mind, please leave us a review. A review on iTunes goes a long way and helps us get the show in front of more people. It really helps us out, and I appreciate it if you'd leave us a review. So thanks in advance. And lastly, As always, I really hope we brought some big value into your day today. You take care, and I'll be talking to you again real soon.
Thanks for listening to the Big Value, Big Business podcast at www.bigvaluebigbusiness.com.